All right, Matt Gannon, Jers, welcome back. Jenny Week, Riviera Week, Riv Week, whatever you want to call it. One of the highlights, I think, of the standard PGA Tour schedule. We got Tiger back this week. All sorts of stuff good going on here. You came on your last week and said you're going to be digging in. You're going to find some winners, and you found them on the DP World Tour and on LIV. 2 winners for you. Congrats. How are you feeling? How are you doing?
Yeah, definitely a good week. 2 winners across the globe. Wish I could have gotten the three-peat, which is a very rare feat because we don't get them all in each week. So that would have been. I had a chance with Cam Young early on Sunday morning, but he failed quickly. So couldn't get the three-peat, but it was a great. Never going to complain with 3 winners. You as well had Dustin Johnson, a great call. I know some guys in the Discord had DJ as well. So great weekend all around, I think.
Yeah, it's always nice to get on a little bit of a hot streak, back-to-back LIV winners. You kind of
Fifth guy.
with the PGA Tour being so difficult to hit a winner on this year. I feel like you got to fish where the fish are, and so it's top of the board
Yeah.
on LIV. It's like, and I think one thing about LIV that's been nice too. I feel like people maybe last year, and I didn't take betting LIV too seriously last year, because the odds were so bad. Like the top 3 or 4 guys on the board were all under 10-1 seemingly every week. Now that Rom's joined, you're getting good players who can
Opens it
win
up.
in the 14 to 20 to 22 range, which it's like that's still solid. And obviously, if you're playing for
Incredible.
7-8 extra return, you just build a card with a couple of guys. So that was great. And you broke through on the DP too. That's been a what was Hishino's odds on DP?
He was in the 40 range. I had him at 43. He was like 40 to 50.
Really? Wow. Because he'd played
Yeah.
good in Australia, and then
Yeah, he went
not over there.
runner up in Australia. He finished second both times in Australia. Then he played all right middle of the season or start of 2024. And then he finished 12th last week, but he was just making birdies, hitting his irons really well. And he finished, I think, top 12 in Qatar last year. So it's kind of a no-brainer, man, 40 to 1. And he came through.
Yeah, I love it. I decided to go top of the board with Rasmus, who was up there. I think his favorite going into the final round.
Yeah.
Did not work out. We'll talk about Nicolai here soon enough, but Rasmus, he's lacking a little bit of that killer instinct. I mean, he should theoretically win half the events this year on the DP World Tour with some of those fields.
Right.
So keep your eyes peeled. I'm sure Rasmus will be breaking through over there on the DP soon enough. But this week, we go from back-to-back weeks with 3 events, which has been fantastic, down to just Jenny this week. The DP World Tour taking the week off before heading over to one of the best events of the year, the Magical Kenya Open, will be coming up next week. We'll set aside some time because is Mexico next week for the
Yeah.
PGA? Yeah.
Mexico
So next week's pod might be
Kenya Open show.
specifically focused on the Magical Kenya Open. One of the highlights of the year. LIV taking the week off as well. When's LIV coming back?
I think it's a few weeks. They're going to Hong Kong, I believe, or Saudi Arabia. One of the two. It's Hong Kong or Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's one of those because I know they were. One of the guys on the broadcast was like from Hong Kong or something. And he was hyped that they're going to Hong Kong.
It's like his home club for like 30-something years. I heard him say that too.
Yeah.
Like,
the LIV had a very DP vibe coming down the stretch there on the back nine. We saw a lot of interesting things taking place there. The conditions were difficult. Not gonna lie, the wind picked up there, and guys like Bryson. I think it was one of those where and we saw this with DJ too. Most of these guys obviously haven't played a lot of golf between like September and now. They played my Cup last week, but the amount of practice they probably put in like windy or difficult conditions, it's like nothing. And I think we saw that with a lot of those guys. Luckily, DJ was able to buckle down on those last few holes and get the win. But this week, solo focus on the Jenny. If we're going to hit a winner, it's got to be here in Los Angeles, Pacific Palisades. I've been to Riv before. I went in, I don't know what year it was. It was like 2017, 2018. Went down there. Used to live in Seattle, so it wasn't too bad of a journey to get down there to Riv. Great event. Give me the high level, bullet points on Riv. What are you looking at this week? What excites you? What's your history been at Riv too? You hit winners here before? What's going on?
No winners here. So don't have great course history, but I honestly nothing crazy. Morikawa one of the years and JT one of the years was in the mix, and then he was not on the back nine. So nothing crazy here at Riv. Yeah, high level stuff. I just think we got to get ahead of this now. We have all our eyes on the PGA Tour. Only tournament this week. If a big name doesn't win, we have issues, like real issues if there's no big name. So I think, but that was just an aside. Course history, I think, is key here. A big, very predictable course history. And then just overall tee to green play, just trending ball striking paired with good course history. Nothing too flashy like last week was flashy. Nothing too flashy this week. So pretty straightforward tee to green play.
And quickly to touch on that, because I haven't had enough coffee today. I forgot that we even talk about the waste management Phoenix Open, but your point on the fact that it was another long shot winner there. We talked about this last week, and we felt like it was a week where we're going to get a big dick winner. We're going to get somebody who steps up to the occasion. That's been the history of waste management. But I actually think, everything's always crystal clear in retrospect. Nick Taylor winning the Canadian Open, for the first Canadian to win in Canada in infinity
100%.
years, that's a big dick win. He showed his ability he lost 2 strokes off the tee in the final round. I don't know how many guys have won events losing 2 strokes off the tee in the final round. It can't be very many, but just strokes gained heart, strokes gained guts. And I think that's these guys at the top of the board. It's been the story we talked about last week. Who has the strokes gained guts right now on the PGA Tour at the top of the board? Scottie can't putt under pressure. We saw him putting pretty well until he was right there down the stretch, couldn't make anything. JT, his winning record over the last recent years is he only wins every once in a while. Who deserves to have, those 10-1, 12-1, 14-1 odds where it makes sense to bet him?
Literally, truthfully, when you're gonna go down the board, and when we do go down the board, no one would be I trust them with 5 holes left. But someone has to win. And I you did, Nick. I agree with you on Nick Taylor. Finished great here last year, has that heart, but he still wasn't a big dick winner. He was 120-1. I'm just saying, if we don't get a sub 35 winner, we have real issues. But I agree. We go down the board. Who has that dog? Who has that fight? And obviously, every one of these guys that we're going to name has done it in their career and will probably show up this weekend. But no one we could confidently say is they're trending right now. They have that heart. So. And it's real. It's a real thing. And Tiger's going to be there, adds pressure. I think that it's going to add enough pressure and elevate these guys to play well, I hope. So, yeah, we will see. But that's something to monitor for sure.
And I think that was a good point. And it was something I was thinking about last week. Didn't talk about on the pod. But these guys at the top of the board, the 8s to 1s, the 10s, JT last week, 11-1. Some people did get him at a better number. You get him at 20, 30. Obviously, that makes sense. I do this too. This isn't I'm thinking out loud about things that I've done myself. When you go to the top of the board, you get a guy who's 10-1, 12-1. It's not just okay, I think this guy can get in the mix or play well this week. Obviously, if a guy's 10-1 or below or 12-1 or below, if they don't play well this week, then something went horribly wrong for them. Saying oh, this guy's going to play well. Yeah, obviously he's 12-1. He should play well. You've got to have such belief that if he's tied for the lead going into the final round, that he's the lock of the person that you want, or just wait till the final round, and bet somebody then. Because it's if you're going to go that high on the board and bet somebody there, you need to just wake up. They're tied for the lead final round. You're we've got this. If you go to the final round thinking I don't know, can this guy close the door? Then you probably shouldn't be betting him at 10-12-1. Just give yourself more guys, give yourself more options down the board. That's kind of how I feel about the current situation on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it's a similar situation to what we saw with LIV this weekend. You and I both had Dustin Johnson around the same number. Tied for the lead, did not look great all of Saturday. Literally, truthfully looked bad. But this is my 4 Aces hat, by the way, not my Atlanta Braves hat. And he just had the guts to will it out. And that's Dustin Johnson. And although he didn't look good, there was never a point where I was damn, Dustin Johnson is going to give up, even though he looked like shit. And yeah, so I don't think anyone at the top of this board has that fight in him just yet. He's going against Jon Rahm and still willed it out, playing his extremely suboptimal golf.
A quick note on Jon Rahm. 4 shanks by my count in the final round. He hit one early on, which wasn't a full shank, but it was pretty shanky early on.
Blamed it on
and
a
then
pebble,
Yeah, he had a couple more of those. As the round, we were texting about it, and it was all caps, another shank. And then the final one that he hit on one of the last few holes, that was a full on hosel rocket. It's happened to him before. I feel he, because of the way he swings, that hosel sometimes gets in there at an angle with how quick he's swinging. But that for people who didn't watch LIV, you missed out on some Jon Rahm.
It was a great sweat. And another week where you talked about the LIV broadcast, that was an amazing sweat. They lapped the PGA Tour in sweat equity, literally. Like there was so many times on Sunday where I was seeing what was happening on PGA Tour Live. Like, I mean Shot Tracer, not PGA Tour Live.
Yeah.
On Shot Tracer, miles before it's happening on.
But
the
even
broadcast.
on PGA Tour Live, because I was watching, because I had Kurt, and Kurt played really well. Like Kurt was kind of on the fringes of being in the mix the whole week, and in the final round, he was on the stream with Chuck Hoffman, and like Chuck obviously was balling out.
That, yeah.
So I was seeing Chuck's shots 5-10 minutes before they were like showing, and it was like I was texting you guys too, but I know you probably weren't watching the stream because like I was only watching because I had Kurt, and it's like you can't even text people because you're like afraid to ruin what they're about to see. But
yeah, that's a problem. That's another.
We could go on about that. The one thing I will say about the LIV broadcast that was like pretty shitty this week was the over the top of the team event stuff. Like if BK is listening, he's probably pissed. He's going to say we're LIV like dick riders, and obviously I've got a positive thinking about LIV right now with like back-to-back winners. But I kind of this week, like I wasn't into the team competition, but I like had my eye on it. I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like this, like once you watch for a few weeks, you kind of get the feel for the team. Like, and the players do care. I think like the thought that the players don't care, they don't want to, like every player out there, to my eye, is trying really hard and is getting pissed like when things are going wrong. They want to win the team competition. They want to win the individual, but we don't need to be cutting to guys every 5 minutes to update the leaderboard and the team competition. Like it needs to be kind of a sideshow thing. They dive into it almost too much, and it went a little bit over the top for me this week. On
especially like you said, they had that like at the turn they did like a full recap of what was going on, and it took like a solid 5 to like 8 minutes of them talking about like this team's here, while like the tournament was really heating up. But I do agree with you that the team aspect helps the product, because like if you and I were just like playing pickup basketball with our friends, we don't want to let down our partners. Like if there was just no team aspect, the last place guy gets, I don't know the exact dollar, the last place guy gets so much money, they don't even care. But them having to still like will their way to play their good golf, to just not let down that team. They don't want to be that guy who does the worst on the team. So it does help. I really do think it helps.
And this year, another, I think, positive change they made was having all 4 guys count in the final round. Because that was the other thing. I didn't understand for a while how the team like scoring worked. In the first 2 rounds, now it's 3 out of 4 guys count. But the final round, every guy counts. It's pretty straightforward. Who's like, and going into the final round, the team leaderboard, at least the last couple of weeks, has been really close. So then it kind of just comes down to like who's going to ball out in the final round. And then it's easy to kind of keep track of. So I do like that. And that's why I hope there's a future where we get the PGA Tour combined back with LIV, because the team aspect with all the top players like on different teams, and where there was like that element of trades and free agency, like all that stuff could be sick. And you see like the bones of it on LIV right now and the potential of it. And I just hope that in this future world where we can combine the tours back, that it's not, there's a lot of silly dumb stuff with LIV, but the team stuff actually is kind of cool and has potential if the best players were in it.
We can't get trades for Wolf versus Gooch with zero reasoning or rationale behind it, because it's just like, come on, what are we doing here? But the overwhelming team aspect, I think it is fun. It could be a future of the game.
Yep. So shout out to Brooks and the gang. Smash, I think, was the victorious. And I mentioned this on BK's pod. If you are betting LIV, it hasn't happened yet, parlay the team winner with your individual bet. Like
it's happened last year though.
Multiple times.
Like times. Yes,
it's hit probably 30% of the events it's happened, and like parlaying the percentages, it's still better to do the parlay. So like if Gooch had won last week and you had Gooch smash, that would have paid out a ton. So if you are betting LIV and you're in a place where you can bet the team aspect as well, just parlay it, because it happens at 30-40% rate.
Before we move on, who was your favorite team? You have to pick one. Do you have one?
I don't like this isn't my favorite team. I don't like the players on the team. The Range Goats logo in Matt, like it does look kind of sick. It's like, I respect it. I thought it was goofy at first, but it was kind of cool. I'm not going to say the Aces. Brooks, I love Brooks. I've been on the record of a supporter of Brooks. So I like Smash. I've never loved Bryson, but I think he's goofy, and like I don't mind the what are they? The
Crushers.
The Crushers. Yeah. So definitely not Legion 13. Although shout out to Caleb Surratt. We were texting about him. For all the people who at this point are probably annoyed we're still talking about LIV, we'll stop in a second. But I will say this guy's sick. He reminds me of Colin Morikawa. Like I think he's got Colin vibes. His college coach called him the best iron player he's ever seen in college. And like, he's showing up his first 2 events in professional golf and flashing with the irons, like looking like one of the best iron players in the field. The swing is just beautiful to look at. He can't putt. He misses everything, but hopefully
it'll come.
Yeah, hopefully over time he can work his way into some of these big events, because this dude straight up baller, and another one of those just young players in the Nick Dunlap, category, who are in the next 3 to 5 years. Like, if this guy can get into the majors, legit player.
Yeah, good for him. Generational wealth at age 21 or whatever.
Yeah, good on you. So good for him. But yeah, let's get back to Riv. You already kind of hit some of the points there. For me, distance here is like a prerequisite to mixing. I wrote about this in the preview on vincerix.com and also on Vincerix. We got something cool coming, hopefully out tomorrow. I think it's going to be the best thing that we've built from a tech perspective so far. So really excited. We'll have that out tomorrow.
Teasing the best thing ever. I love it.
Yeah, so get excited for that. But every player, I went back to 2014 because at some point I get tired of going so far back. And if it's happened every year for the last 10 years, like, that's a pretty strong sign. At a minimum, the like shortest hitting winner here was still 7 yards longer than tour average, like on the season. So we're talking about guys who are roughly top 40, top 50 on the PGA Tour, and distance is like a requirement to win here. I think you add in the wet conditions that have been happening in LA over the last few months. Distance is a step one here, just because it's also wide enough that like you can get away with some spraying stuff from the tee. The rough's only 2 inches deep, nothing crazy there. And then it's which of those power hitters, or maybe not power hitters, above average distance players is going to spike with the iron play from 150 to 200. Like 50% of the shots come from that range, which is a lot more than tour average. And then the other piece, strokes gained California. It's a real thing. This course is all about strokes gained California. Just going back, Rahm, before he won here, was a winner at both Torrey and Amex. Neiman had a T6 at Torrey. Home had a T5 here. Adam Scott was a previous winner at Riv. JB Holmes had a T2 at Pebble. Bubba Watson was a winner at Riv and Torrey. DJ was a winner at Pebble. Like, there is no winner here going back at least 10 years who didn't have at least one other really strong, if not winning, performance in California. So those are kind of the high level like check boxes that I'm trying to hit with guys this week.
Yeah, I definitely do agree with you. I kind of gave you more of a bland answer, but distance always helps, and I wasn't really too aware of how those winners correlated, but definitely makes sense to just think of the winners the last few years.
And as we go to the board here, hold on, let me what's going on? Let's get to the odds here. This is what I'm excited for, because we're gonna have a nice odds screen coming out tomorrow and won't have to mess around with finding the odds to talk down the board. But Scottie, top of the board, favorite as to be expected. Rory there is the next guy, kind of under 10 to 1, and then we can talk about the next batch together. But we did this at Pebble. I think we did Scottie versus Rory match up. Scottie versus Rory this week. Where are you going, and kind of how do you feel about their chances overall? Even though we just talked about like nobody at the top of the board is winning, and it's probably not worth going there.
Yeah, I think Scottie is extremely live to win. Like, a hot take, Scottie can win. Yeah, extremely live to win. Just based on, I love how much he's playing golf. He's playing a lot of golf right now, and he's obviously playing great golf. And I know the putter was overwhelmingly good last week. Under pressure, he hit a few tough, bad putts with, I think he was 3 6-footers and like 4 holes yesterday. But the putter was good. He lost. He finished third. But out of the course that just rewards tee to green play, rewards distance, I trust Scottie so much being in the center of the fairway. Do I trust him down the stretch? That's a question we have to ask yourself. And if there's even a question, I don't know if you can bet him at 8 to 1. I really don't. If you don't trust him, you can't do it. But I'm thinking about single being. I really am. Just because I love the reps he's playing. He's got okay course history, nothing insane, but he's playing great golf. Tee to green savant. I think it can happen.
So my thing with Scottie is the only way that I would feel comfortable like with single bullet with Scottie is if you genuinely think he's going to win by like 5 shots. Because when was the last time in a close tournament that he won? This is our
take that we've talked about.
Yeah, like Hero doesn't count. And he had a pretty big lead at Hero. It was like 3 shots most of the time. So then we go back to Players, and he was ahead by infinity shots at Players. And then there's Waste, but we know that Waste is like his place. And that's what worries me actually a little bit more. It's like he couldn't even close the door at Waste.
At his place.
that's his spot. Like, he shouldn't be feeling that. Like, sure, you feel pressure to win 3 in a row. You feel pressure to win any PGA Tour event, but like, those were some horrible putts down the stretch. He was putting really good, and he was putting good for a while. So and I've said this before, like, it is nothing mechanical, I don't think, at this point with Scottie. It's can you, when you are nervous, make the putts, and you just can't get them to fall. And then we go back then to before waste was the Masters way back in the day when he won and was on that hot streak.
Yeah,
so like
infinity strokes.
Where is Scottie's in the mix pulling away in a battle victory of late?
And we talked about it on this show last week, I believe, right? How he just struggled with those 36-hole leads or just down the stretch. He still played golf and kept himself in the mix, but he struggled. He's made bogeys in situations he shouldn't have. Question: what do we think the winning score is going to be? Because I think that directly correlates to his chances. It's a little wetter. The last 2 years has been his historic winning score margins. Do we see it surpassing that? What is it? Does Tiger have any thoughts on course setup? It's going to rain, I think, on the weekend, maybe. Thoughts there?
I think we have a good chance for a scoring record. I think we could get to so the interesting thing when looking at the scoring here is like, yeah, the last couple of years, there's been some guys who have gotten into the high teens, like Rahm won it at 17 under, Neiman won it at 19 under. But it's not one of those leaderboards where there's like a bunch of guys at 19, 18, 17, 16.
Right,
it's like the good guys are really separating themselves. And we've seen that at Riv the last couple of years. Like last year was Max and Rahm kind of like battling that. So I think a couple of guys are going to break free. They're going to get hot and they're going to get close to 20 under with these wet conditions. And I also think the reason we've seen the scoring go lower the last couple of years is guys have realized you can just send it from the tee here. Yeah. And that strategy.
JT has not realized that though.
Okay. JT's gonna we'll talk JT and his layup strategy, but I think we get close to the scoring record. For that reason, I'd probably also lean against Scottie. Like, I'm never gonna say fade
yeah,
Scottie.
I agree.
Like, he's gonna play well, but to me, I'm totally out. I think on the single bullet. Every time we do the pod, I always don't make my picks really until Tuesday, so sometimes I change what I'm thinking. But I think I'd be out on Scottie. The thing with Rory is, I've always thought this is the perfect course for Rory. Like, just send it from the tee, spike with the irons, reasonable putter. The interesting thing about Rory, though, and why he's always played fine here, he's never won, he gains from the tee pretty much all the time, is another little sneaky piece that I think matters at Riviera that's not going to be in any of your stats. Like, you go to whatever website you want to look at the player stats, you're not going to see this. Hitting a fade from the tee, all the guys who are winners here, fade, fade, fade. Or you got Bubba who's, hitting draws the other way. Like, this is a course where if you hit that fade from the tee, and we see it with Colin, like Colin has his highest distance figures of any course on tour at Riv, but it's because he hits that fade and he gets that extra curve around the corner that other guys aren't getting, or cutting corners with things like that. And Rory tends to hit that towering draw. So I guess that'd be one like negative for him here. But I've always thought this is a great course for Rory. He just looks so out of sorts at Pebble that like it'd be hard for me to believe that he just bounces back and wins this event.
Yeah, I agree. I saw someone post on Twitter that they think Riv sets up better for drawers like Augusta National did. But then I thought about the winners and I was like, these are guys who hit fades and these are like predominantly faders, which I think is a very small tidbit that matters like nothing at all, because we see guys do it both ways at Augusta. I mean like DJ too. So yeah, I like Rory too. I'm worried what we saw at Pebble. I'm worried what we saw at Pebble. I think that first round putting off the green just totally messed with his mind, his pea brain that he has, because he's so mental. But like I said last year at Augusta, the rain helps him for sure. The lower scoring helps him for sure. Rory is a perfect candidate to win off of a shitty performance, week off, and then make it happen. So he's done it before. So I think I still want to go with Scottie here, but Rory's fine.
I think, again, going back to like, if you've got these guys and you go into the final round tied for the lead, I actually do trust Rory to close the door more than I would Scottie. And I think Rory's done it. Rory has those weeks where he just kind of hangs around and then he like backdoors the top 5, or he like sucks in the when Rory's playing good, I trust him down the stretch. Yeah. Like, it's hit and miss, like we saw in against Tommy in Dubai. Like, sometimes he shits the bed, but like Rory has enough of a credibility to me that like trust him in final rounds. We saw it last year at the Scottish, but I don't think either of these guys will be for me. And I think like, yeah, in a matchup, I'll probably take Scottie just for the consistency. But if I had to think if I had to pick somebody to bet to win, I'd go with Rory.
I honestly, what you just said made me realize, I think if you want some Rory you want to sprinkle some Rory, first round leader is a good market because when he's playing good, he comes out super hot. And it's like if Rory's off in the first round, he has no chance. He's done. He's checked out. But if Rory gets off to that good start, we're locked in. Rory's live. Last week at Pebble was kind of it was very rare what he did. Like he got off to the hot start. Usually he holds
he usually finishes that off for first round lead for sure.
So and you're gonna get like not double the number, but you're gonna get a higher number on first round leader than you will outright. So I think that might be a little sprinkle for me at least.
Yeah, I like that. Especially, I mean, there's 70 players in this field. Like Rory,
I'm down.
First round leader. I like it. So now we got the next chunk. We'll call these guys the teens. All these guys are falling in the teens pretty much across books. Maybe even sneak a 20 on some of these guys. Actually, on a fair amount of these guys, there's 20s out there, but I'm going to bucket them all together. We've got Vic, who took last week off because the swing still wasn't getting on approach. He's been working on that. He's back. Xander took last week off. Quickly on, they both took last week off. Obviously, we saw all the hullabaloo at Waste. What's your take on Waste? I feel like most people have turned against Waste. They said this is unacceptable. This is wrong. We saw Billy Ho and ZJ get into the fans, bent on Twitter. What's Matt Gannon's official stance on the pandemonium that took place at Waste?
Yeah, it's a sad scene because it is really great once a year. It's amazing to have the rowdy fans once a year getting in, just doing their thing. But I do think we crossed the line, and I don't think there's any going back from it too. Because how do you like stop? How do you stop them? Like, how do you stop them? Just ban alcohol sales for good? No one will show up. The tournament will be shit. Like it's a party now. It's the Super Bowl in Phoenix. The whole city shuts down for it. Like everyone's dialed in to go to Waste, and you can't like make everyone be quiet. You simply can't. And I just think it's horrible for the event. It's going to turn players away. I talked about with Will Wilcox on the pod last week. I was like, I was doing the show with him, and I was like, oh, breaking news. Xander just withdrew. He was like, yeah, I kind of checks out. All these top guys don't want to deal with the bullshit. So they saw it coming. It's not going to get elevated status anymore. I joked on Twitter, said make it an alt event, but that will never happen. But I do think we're not going to see bigger names be there as much as we are used to.
Yeah, I think I ended up on the side where like, yeah, I mean, like, from a safety perspective, you can't have people like blacking out and falling off shit like that. But it's separate from the golf itself. Like that's just, they got to figure that out. I'm not as like, at the end of the day, there's one tournament a year where players are going to have to deal with rowdy fans. Like, suck it up. Like, you're getting paid millions of dollars to be out. Like, you could get millions of dollars to be out there. You don't have to play if you don't want to. I want Brooks to come back and play the event because Brooks would body bag some fans and win the event by 10. So I think we need to people are like, what's gone wrong with Waste? Brooks isn't in the event anymore. He was kind of the king of the event. He held everything in check. He's a real athlete, or he claims to be a real athlete. That's all he talks about. Bring Brooks back next year. Let him kind of be the commissioner of the Waste management. Let him decide what's okay, what's not okay. That's my solution for Waste management, is to bring Brooks back. But and if Scottie had won again, then we're going to need to bring Brooks back to have there be some competition at the top of the leaderboard. But my solution for Waste is we bring Brooks back.
Yeah, that definitely would be a good solution. Hopefully, it's sooner than later. These guys merging.
All right, so that was an aside, but it came up because Vic and Xander both took last week off, not wanting to deal with the hoopla. So we've got Vic, Xander, Colin, your boy Pat Ice. By the way, go to Vincerix, read up Matt's write-up on Pat Cantlay this week. I was laughing out loud on some of his descriptions there. Max Homa, and then JT. Why is JT 20-1? Why did he bounce up to 20-1 when he was just like 11-1 last week and played pretty good, just didn't make any putts? What's going on there? And give me of this crew, who's not winning of who's not the most? Okay. Who's not winning the most out of these players?
Not winning the most of these players is probably Patrick Cantlay. He's not winning, like so much not winning, which is sad because I love him. Who's winning the most probably would be JT.
I don't understand. So Cantlay, I was going to push back on Cantlay a little bit, but then I just opened up his stats, and the driver that was like the key to everything that was going well for him is not going well. He had driven it above 2 or average accuracy in like 20 events in a row last year, and he's been negative in the last 4 events. Vic, we don't really know what's going on with him. He's lost on approach in 3 straight starts. That's just a bad. I get that he could bounce back at any point. I'm sure he was practicing extra hard this week, but I'd rather just bet Vic when he's hot with the iron play and be.
Yeah, that was the first time in his career he's done that.
Then we got Xander. He's dead to me by every possible measure. We know that theoretically he should play good here, but he's never finished better than T9 in his very first start. So I would be shocked if Xander won. Colin, I do like Colin. Like I said, for whatever reason, because he hits that fade, he gets like a ton of distance here versus average, and we know that usually holds him back. He's got the flash with the iron plays, T2, T6 the last couple of years. And I always like Colin when he didn't play great the week. Like he was T14 at Pebble. That's a fine result. But I think I like to play Colin the most when it wasn't like he was second, the week before at third. He never seems to follow up those. So I think Colin's sneaky this week. But yeah, to JT, I don't get why he's fallen down behind some of the other names. He gained tee to green again at waist across the board, did everything good. Gained on the greens ever so slightly, but he's putted well here before. And I mean, he has 2 bad putting starts, but 4 of his last 6 starts putting here has been good. So why not JT?
No, I totally agree. And he's priced behind all of these guys on DraftKings. Like, I was very shocked when the DraftKings pricing came out too. JT, he's playing a lot of golf too, and he's getting those really good under pressure reps. He's been in the weekend mix the last few events, and it's been bad, like when he's gotten to that point, but that wasn't going to come overnight. He's coming off of a year of bad golf. He's finally getting himself back into the mix. I'm not really faulting him too much for not being the best under the gun, because he's never really showed that vulnerability in his career. Like, he's always been a closer and just a dog mentality. So I think it's just a matter of time before he gets himself back into the mix and like stays in the mix. And at 20-1, like, I'm willing to take a chance on a guy with that caliber. He's had good results here in the past, playing great golf, and has a ton of good reps in. So I think he's my squad ride, dude. I really do like JT at 20-1.
Yeah, I mean, versus the rest of these guys we've talked about, I see no reason why any of them are more likely to win than JT. Like, to that point of if let's say every single one of these guys was tied for the lead going to the final round, I don't think I'd think any of I'd have JT near the top of that list of like guys who could close the door. And then the other guy's Max. And Max there's something wrong with Max as well. He's in the can't lay like bucket of something being wrong. He's lost with a driver in back-to-back starts, which is just unlike him. And he gets hot and then he gets cold. That's like, he's one of the most like streaky top players in the world. I think it's, somewhat mental for him. We've seen that historically. Like, he was really good and then he sucked really bad. Now he's good again, but it's still like there's those times where it ebbs and flows. He comes to a place where obviously the course history is insane. 4 straight top 10s, a win here, second last year. We know he's going to putt well, or we think we know he's going to putt well. But the number has not, his odds don't reflect the fact that there's something amiss with his game. Like, if he had drifted to like 30-40-1 this week, I'm down, but his odds are kind of what I'd expect him to be, even if he was in better form.
Yeah, I totally agree. And we were on the Max something's wrong early. We saw him doing something wrong with the driver, doing something wrong with the long clubs, and it's really shown in the numbers. So I don't think we can bet a Max who clearly doesn't look right. I don't know why he even played last week, but he's got great course history. And the fact that he gained infinity strokes putting last year at this event and just like didn't close it out over Ron was crazy, because he's not going to gain 11 strokes putting again, which would be phenomenal if he did, but that's his path, truthfully, because the ball striking is not there right now. He needs to gain infinity strokes putting, and I don't want to wager on that at this number.
100%. And yeah, even like, obviously the numbers speak for themselves, but just watching last year, Max made every putt that it was one of the best putting performances I've ever seen. Like, it was legitimately unbelievable. So if he pulls that off again and also solves his ball striking, then more power to him. But to your point, at 18-1, that's going to be a no for me. The question for me is, and his odds are highest right now on Bet Rivers, which is always a bad sign. That'd actually be a giant red flag for me on Ludwig Aberg. Apparently it's still up in the air how we say the last name, but he's your guy to some extent. it makes sense here. He's going to drive it long and straight. He's putted well on POA the last couple of weeks. I think he's going to play really well. We haven't seen many first-time winners here at all. Where are you playing? Are you going to have exposure to him in any way? Are you considering an outright on him?
Not at the moment. I was really dumpster diving his college course history to see if he played at Riviera, because I know they've had college events here in the past, and I couldn't find anything unless I just didn't look hard enough. So yeah, I don't want to bet on someone who I haven't seen it here, because one of my biggest driving forces here was course history and nuance in these surfaces, it's a real thing. I know he has putted well on POA, but you got to know this place. So he could definitely have gotten some reps this week, which I'm sure he's getting a ton of reps. But yeah, I just prefer someone else who I've seen it from at least once or twice before I go with the new toy. But I'm so high on his game. He can do it here. He could do it anywhere. Team LIV Vic through and through, but I'm not going to bet on him.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. I think he will play well. I fully expect him to. We're going to have his him in the mix. Yeah.
Starts him on second base in so many courses.
Yeah, and this is one of them. Like is going to get a head start here. He ranks really well from 150 and 175 yards as well, which is like the number one approach bucket by far this week. So I think he'll be up there. But I agree. I'm trying to stick to what the numbers say this year, and it's like if first time people aren't winning here, then I'm going to try to steer clear, especially high up on the board. Like if there's a guy further down the board, we'll talk about it in a second, like Nicolai, someone I really like, then it's a little bit better, but it's tough at 22-1. And then you got Bet Rivers having the highest price. I literally never bet that. I think it's hit once in 3 years of like tracking that closely that when the guy has his best odds on Bet Rivers, he wins. So it's kind of a red flag for me. Sam Burns, we need to talk about because he's my guy. I'm the Sam Burns whisperer.
Yeah. I will talk about it.
I will let people know when Burns is going to win. Like I always have. It's like, I promise you, when Burns is going to win, you're going to hear it from me. He's going to be on the card, and I'm going to let you know. People have been chasing Burns the last couple of weeks. He's let him down. He's played well. Like, it's not like they've been bad bets. Like, he's been in the mix. He probably could have won. He probably should have won Amex, and that's not like a big dick event. But Burns, you just at 20-1, like in these types of events, 22-1. When I like Burns the most, when I whisper Burns, it's because he's 40-1, 35-1, 50-1. Like, that's Sam Burns territory. He's just not consistent enough across the board. He's got too many little flaws in his game for me to get excited at this part of the board. I actually do think he's going to play really well this week. He's under consideration for the card. So again, I'll let people know if he's on the card.
Okay.
But the last couple of weeks, people are getting pissed about him. They're talking shit about him. But he's just doing what he does. Like, you shouldn't be surprised that he kind of blew it to some degree at Waste. He doesn't win big events except the match play, which is like a one-off rare occasion. He only won that because he was playing Scottie in the semifinals, and they had exactly. So that's my Sam Burns take. As somebody who, it's not your guy. Like, I have a soft spot in my heart, and it's been painful for me to be seeing people shit on him so hard on Twitter. I'm like, this is what he does. You got to accept it. As an outsider of the Sam Burns bandwagon, how's your feel about what's taken place the last couple of weeks and his chances here?
Sam Burns got boned by the broadcast last week because they only showed him like missing putts where he putt well last week, and he is a great putter. He putt well. I think he had a rough weekend maybe on the greens, but he putt well overall. But he's coming off of the best ball striking performance since his win at Sanderson in 2021, I believe, which is really enticing because Sam Burns is a very streaky ball striker. It's either all there or it's all not. So I'm definitely giving him an eye. I'm not really a Sam Burns guy. I bet him very rarely, and I know I say that to you. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited to see what he can bring this week. He's hitting the ball well. He doesn't hold those ball striking forms for too long, so I think you got to get it while you want to get it. Definitely under C, like you said. So this is something we'll monitor later in the week, and I will definitely listen to you on Sam Burns.
I appreciate that, and I will let people know what I'm feeling on Sam Burns. It'll be in the Discord. Get in the Discord. We'll talk about Sam Burns there. But yeah, playing some of the best golf of his career, just last 25 rounds, he's right near his best form ever. So shout out to Sam. I'm really afraid, I hate to say, that he's going to continue to play well, not win any of these events, and then win Valspar at like 8-1. So that's my current concern with Burns, because that'd be a tragedy. If we have to bet him at 8-1 to win Valspar, like, we'll do it. But I'm hoping we can get some drift at some point. Next up is Jordy. who did exactly what I expected Jordan to do last week. I think I even said it on the pod. I said there's going to be a second where we think Jordan maybe could win, and then he's going to miss some putts, and he's not going to win. He actually gained a lot on the greens, but he did have a couple misses down the stretch. The approach play was negative. His ball striking is so random. Like, he can gain a ton off the tee or approach any given start. You just don't know what it's going to be. And I knew we were in trouble with Jordy early on last week on the ESPN Plus when he was doing the full rehearsal of the swing right before he hits again. I was skeptical at that point. He played fine. This is a spot where he's had like a medium amount of success. He's not one I've thought about much so far this week, but I don't think it's for me. But I think the price is fair. Like, you can get a 30-1 on Jordan.
That's a good number. That's definitely enticing. I want to avoid it because I'm standing on a hill. I think Jordan wins in March. Okay. I think Jordan gets to, or between March and April. I might expand that to April because he's played well in April. I like what we're seeing with the ball striking. I like how it's flashing in spots. If he puts it all together, it's there. And the short game's obviously hit or miss too. But once we get down to Florida, I think we're alive for another Jordan Spieth win. So if we can avoid this week, I think we're okay.
Yeah, and I think we can avoid this week. I'm gonna give him a look if there's any drift into the, like, I bet Jordan when he's in the 30s and the 40s, that's when I like him. I think he's just as likely to win in the 40s as he is the 20s, maybe just even the 50s. Like, I think that's when you play Jordan. The next guy, this is a public service announcement, and I need everybody who's listening to the pod to be on the lookout for any information. And if you get the following information, I need to be notified immediately. Might even compensate somebody who can deliver this information to me. If there's anyone who hears that Tony Finau is using a different putter or he switched his putting technique, because Wyndham at Pebble, his ball striking was off the charts. We saw it tee to green, but his putting was so bad, and it was like, this guy can't putt. What's gone wrong here? Turns out he got a new putter. He switched things up. Boom, won the tournament. Tony's ball striking is off the charts so far this year. It is absolutely unbelievable. It's great. He gained 1.5 per round off the tee at Pebble, 1.8 on approach, 2.3 on approach per round at Torrey. Like, he's come out guns blazing, tee to green. The putting has just been horrible. So if anybody hears of something changing with his putter, I want to know, because I might be in at a course where obviously Tony's had a lot of success.
Yeah, we definitely got to clip this and post it separately. I agree with you. I don't think Tony will win this week.
Flowchart.
I do think
the Tony
flowchart. I'll post that this week too. I don't think Tony will play too well this week. I do believe he will be most tipped. I said that on Friday. I think you guys both said no chance, but we will see. He's at a decent number. And what I want to say about Tony is, I remember last year listening to Tap and Birdie, you said that in his career, you believe Tony Finau wins at Riv. You believe it's just a perfect course fit for him. And I totally agree with you. So what I'm saying is, if you're a Tony Finau believer at Riviera, if you bet him at Riviera in the past, keep your foot on the gas. Bet Tony Finau. Just, if you think it will come, it will come. You're getting a great number. You're not getting a 15-1, 30+1. So, Adam, I'm telling you right now, like, bet Tony Finau this week. You'll be very upset if he's even gets off to a hot start, gets into the mix, because he's putt well here in his career. He can find it. So, I think you got to ride it.
That's fair. That's a great point, and it's something I'm gonna have to. It's under the sea. It's under consideration. It's something to monitor, and I appreciate you pointing that out, because that's what friends are for. You need somebody who just reminds, because I didn't even remember saying that. So but I do believe it. So I appreciate you bringing that back up. We get into this next range of guys where I think we're in a hypothetical 3-ball category, where I'm going to give you 3 guys.
Okay.
And you let me know what you think. Your boy, Tommy Fleetwood, you wrote him at Pebble. Did he even, what did he shoot? Like, was he ever, I don't even remember him playing at Pebble. No. Like, did he do anything?
Literally nothing.
He did have new iron shafts in the bag, though. I remember BK was panicking right before the event, because he had, so maybe he got those queued up. He's good. Adam Scott, who I bet last week, he was high in the model last week. He was high in the model again this week. You tweeted that he's going to be high in everybody's model this week. So I'm sure everybody listening, Adam Scott's popping in the models. He somehow finished top 10 last week. Obviously, I was tracking him because I had the bet on him. I was shocked that he even even finish top 10. I don't know how he did that, but he's obviously won here before. So Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, or a guy who did another thing that we kind of expected. Teagues was in the mix there at waist, 3-jacked in contention. He always seems to find a way to blow it down the stretch, but he has 1 strokes gained California. He's played good here before. Adam Scott, Tommy Fleetwood, Sahith Theegala, hypothetical 3-ball.
I'm gonna have to go. I mean, it's tough because Adam Scott gives you that like backdoor like equity and just keep playing. Generational non-mixer, no chance to win. Do not bet Adam Scott this week. He keeps doing it, just playing amazing on Saturday and Sunday, but the whole time just hitting his irons so well. Like, I'm shocked to see how well he hits his irons. I'm like why? Like, how is he hitting his irons so well and never once in the mix since like the 21 Wyndham? Like, I think that was the last time he was in the mix, or maybe there was a few times in there. But he has no chance to win this week. Do not bet him. He's going to be a great number. He's going to be popular. Tommy Fleetwood was partying in Vegas all week. He might leave for LIV. Truthfully, might leave for LIV. And then Sahith Theegala, strokes in California. He's playing a lot of golf. He might be a little gassed, but he's won on a California treeline golf course before. By no means is this the same thing, but I think he finished top 10 here last year, if I'm not mistaken.
T6 losing off the tee,
which is a question. What did he finish off the tee last week? If you have it
plus 2.8.
Now he's parlaying off the tee. He's parlaying off the tee results, I believe. He might have been bad at Pebble, but
his off the tee numbers are the highest over 25 rounds in his career right now.
Okay, so the driver, I always say, is the driving force for Theegala. If he's driving it well, he has the creativity and the upside to contend anywhere. Hit fairways, Sahith Theegala can win this event. I don't know what the general consensus will be around him. He was super popular last week. Are we going to go back to him this week? And he's probably a great number, like probably mid-50s. What is he?
The best number on Teagues is 35-1.
That's I don't know. Like
that's how I feel about all 3 of these guys. If I had to rank them, I'd probably go Scott, Theegala, Fleetwood. Like all these guys are about 35-1. That's why I listed them off.
Betting Fleetwood at 35-1 is probably the worst bet ever.
I'd support that. Adam Scott, I talked about it last week. I said I shouldn't bet him because he never wins. I still bet him. I might bet him. I know you just said not to, but I probably won't. Because if he's on the chart, he's going to be off for me because there's no way Adam Scott on the chart wins. But he has just been playing great. And if there was a course where he can win, he's actually won at this course before. So he loves it. You know, he always talks about like this is his home away from home. So I like that about him. And then Teagues, the stats are great. Like, and I penciled in Teagues before the year at 2 courses, Kapalua and Riv, and I bet him at Kapalua. But he was 80-1 at Kapalua, and now he's only 35-1 this week. I don't think he's a 35-1 golfer. I think he's a 50 to 80-1 golfer from an outright perspective. So if it's hypothetical 3-ball, take Adam Scott just because of his consistency. To win, I'd probably lean Teagues, but I don't think the number is very good on any of these guys. Specific. And then if Tommy joins LIV and takes over as captain of the Majestics, is that the all English team?
Yeah,
I'd be down for that. I'd be down because they've got the 3-team captain thing going with Poulter and Westwood and somebody else. So let's get Tommy on LIV. I'm fine with that. He doesn't want to win on the PGA Tour, so really, what's the point of even having him here? So if Tommy joins LIV, that's cool. That's fine by me. Here we go. This is a hypothetical.
I know where we're going now. I know where we're going.
Cam Young, Mr. CY, your boy, played as expected last week. I think almost to a T. If you could pencil out his expected performance last week, it was almost exactly what you'd expect. Windy C, who played also really well last week for the most part. He because he was on a stream on Saturday and he was charging. Like, he played great on Friday. He was charging on Saturday. I tweeted out he's on a historic like eagle making like stretch. He wanted it bad. Like, he was so serious and like he hit that ball in the water on 17 on Saturday or Sunday. That was kind of the end of him, and he got so pissed. He hits a huge fade. Strokes gained California. Wyndham Clark is off the charts at LACC, which I actually think is a reasonable comp here. And Pebble, he's 45-1.
Yeah, fuck, you're right.
There's a strong chance that I'm hopping back on the Windy C train this week at 45-1. And then Will Zalatoris, he's back at Riv. He's playing better. Hypothetical 3-ball, and also what are your thoughts overall on the chances of CY, Windy, and Zal?
I thought there was going to be a different third guy, but I'm going to go, if I had to rank that, I would go Wyndham Clark, number 1, Cam Young number 2, and Zal number 3. I'm very impressed by what I'm seeing from Wyndham Clark, and he gets into these modes where he flips the switch and he wants it and he feels confident. He looks confident over the ball. I love the way he like lashes at those iron shots and stares it down because he's parlaying like great iron week, great iron week, great iron week, which he hasn't really done in a while, and now we're seeing it. He lost off the tee last week, but I feel like that has to do with some water balls.
He drove it in the water twice on 17, so I think that.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Wyndham Clark's driver numbers. We know he's a great driver at the core. Hopefully, he could just drive it great because he should. And he's hitting his irons good. He has that dog. Wyndham has dog. Like, we know he has dog.
He has the most dog of. That's why, like, at 45-1, I think you just bet Windy every time because, like, strokes gained going into the final round, again, if every player is tied, Windy to shoot the low round and win the tournament in, like, a shootout scenario, I trust him pretty much more than anybody else on the entire tour.
Yeah, and he won twice in like 3 or 4 starts last year. Everyone kind of was on him before he won Pebble because they got that number ahead of time. Winning back-to-back is never an easy thing to do, so I can forgive him for – he still played great last week. Like what are we doing here? He played great last week, and he can win again.
My favorite thing about him, I was just going to say, is that before he was the Win DC that he is now, he finished T17 and T8 here. This was one of his best, this historically was one of his best courses before he became the player that he is. And it's because he bombs it from the tee and he's good on POA, which if you can do those two things here, that's a great head start. And now he's flushing the irons and the around the green play is sick. I'll probably bet Windy. I'd feel dumb if he won at 45-1. I'd feel like an idiot. I felt like an idiot when he won at 100-1. I feel just as an idiot if he won at 45-1.
Yeah, I'm going to get in the Discord if you're watching this, by the way, and find our thoughts because I need to talk to my friend. He's bet Wyndham 3 times in his life, and it was all 3 of his wins. So I'm going to call him after this and see his thoughts on Wyndham heading into this week. So yeah, what are your thoughts on the other 2 guys that you mentioned?
CY, I felt this way for pretty much since he came onto the tour, and then we started to see what he is. He's not a winner. He's a loser. It's like, I'm going to be honest with you.
Wow.
When you give yourself this big of a head start off of the tee every single tournament and you haven't won, that's a problem for me. Like, I'm just got to be honest with it. And when it became a huge problem for me was when he went and like played some of the small dick events last summer when he was like clearly hunting a victory at like John Deere and 3M. He even played the Worldwide Technologies, whatever that tournament was, when I think Vegas or when EVR won. Like, he went and played some of these events where he was clearly trying to get his first win. He didn't even come close. Like, he was up there at JDC, played terrible in the final round. So I think he'll play well.
Yeah, you're right.
He putted well last week. He's putted well here before. You have to gain a little bit around the greens here. Like, it's not crucial, but like, you need to gain a little bit. I don't trust him around the greens. I don't trust his iron play that
last
much.
Week, honestly.
Yeah,
he chipped it bad last week.
He chips it bad every week because around the green
you're right.
are not good. So I think he'll play well. Pencil me in for like a T12 on CY, but he'll be in the mix. Like, I think he throws his name in that. Maybe a first round leader. Like, I could see that. And then Zal, I don't think he's
close. We're close.
We're close, but he's not as back as I think people are making it out. I looked at his stats a little bit closer. Like, they're good. He's moving in the right direction. The distance is still down a little bit, which I don't like here. I'd prefer that he was still hitting it with full power. The approach numbers aren't popping yet, but we've got him penciled in for Houston. If he plays Houston next month.
Houston is like a lock already. I think we might be a little ahead of schedule. I'm eyeing Bay Hill, but Houston is like, that was already a great call, and I'm really seeing it now. So, yeah, we're close on Zal. All good things. Like, he's coming off of a legitimate injury, so no beef. Keep playing good golf. We can't bet him yet,
though. This is the guy that I wanted to talk about. He's not even going to get a hypothetical 3-ball. He's going to get a standalone segment. Did this last week on Kurt, and Kurt played really well. Now, Kurt was 130-1. Nicolai's only 66-1. That's a fair price for me. This course... I don't know if it's going to happen this year, but add Nicolai to my list of guys who win at Riv in his career. This is tailor-made for Nicolai Højgaard. He has gained over 4.5 strokes off the tee in his last 2 starts at both Pebble and at Farmers. He was second at Farmers. Crazy. We've seen when he reminds me a lot of Niemann at about the same number as when Niemann won here. Niemann played really good at Torrey, finished like T6, showed up here and absolutely blitzed the field. He's gained with his ball striking both off the tee and approach in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight starts going back to the end of last year in Europe. Obviously has the distance, can flash with the iron play. He's gained on POA in these last 2 starts, which I think is surprising. Like, you don't see a lot of guys in their very first starts on POA, especially coming from Northern Europe, coming over here on West Coast POA and putting well. Like, what? Like, I'm all aboard the Nicolai train this week. It's as straightforward as it gets, in my opinion.
I think I agree with you, and I spoke about when I wrote it up, like, the talent is just on such a high level. Let's see what number we get, and we're getting a 60 plus. Like, he's won in stronger field than this by far. So I'm down for Nicolai at 66 to 1. And of course, that makes sense for him.
Yeah, I don't think we even need to talk about that much. If you even are thinking about betting Nicolai this week, then do it, because I would be distraught if Nicolai won and I didn't bet him. That almost happened at Farmers, because I almost was going to bet him at Farmers. You said bet him at any number, or you said auto at Farmers. Neither of us bet him. We feel the same way this week. He played fine at Pebble, got some rest. He'll be ready to go. And I just like the mindset from Nicolai too. Like, his interviews, they're great.
Yeah,
like,
he's locked in. Yeah.
Like, this dude is going to be legit. I've number 1 player in the world. It will happen. Winning this event would be a nice step in the right direction for his ascendancy to the number 1 player in the world. Nicolai Højgaard, we love it. Get there. Ben On, is this a bounce back spot for Ben On? Leads the number 1 in the field in birdie or better percentage from 150 to 175.
Yeah, he kind of let down in a strokes gain man of the people, because he has been on Twitter and he just didn't perform last week. He was circling back. Like, he was hype pre-tournament, then he was circling back his takes, which is always a bad sign. Like, that's like an anti-Vic Lap. You can't do that. So definitely some thoughts about Ben On that aren't in the right direction for me, but I just think by default, I think he can bounce back, because he let so many people down last week on a course that should have set up well for him, and he's had great success. He has minimal course history, if any, here. I'm off the top of my head, I don't see him performing here at all. So Ben On, I just think he doesn't have the reps here to contend.
Yeah, 1 start, T55 back in 2017.
Yeah, okay.
Flushing it with the ball striking. The short game was bad. The short game's better now, but
he gained like 9 strokes ball striking and like lost 8 putting or something like that.
Exactly.
I remember that.
Exactly what happened. Now we're getting into some of the longer shots, which honestly, this is where we should spend all of our time talking, because this is where all the winners have been coming from. A guy that I've scanned through your notes that go up on Vincerics every Monday, talks about, I don't know, a huge chunk of the field. So if you just want to get details on a bunch of guys, then get on Vincerics and read Matt's stuff. Cam Davis, flashing the approach numbers. Now, they're not full tournament approach numbers. I always think that's important when you see a guy like who you're on. Like, I like to go look at Data Golf, for example, and you see he's like +3 per round. Well, it was only like 2 rounds that counted at Pebble and 1 round that counted at Amex, but career best like approach numbers. Bombs it from the tee, just as likely to win at 100 to 1 as he is at 20 to 1. You like him this week. Is he under consideration for the C? What's your thoughts there?
100%. I love Cam Davis. I've loved him for a while, and I still have the thought that he's going to win in a star-studded field and surprise everyone, because you ask anyone, he's just as talented as any of these golfers at the top of the leader, at the top of the odds boards. He just needs to put it together, needs to put all his rounds together. He's still young. And look, Cam Davis, I watched him at Amex and he looked legitimately lost. He was yelling at his caddy, like swinging it, immediately dropping his club, hand up, 4 right. He clearly got on the range, got with someone, because the numbers have looked great. And this is a golf course that makes sense for him. He could go bombs away. And he's one on a tree line golf course where you can go bombs away at. So I'm down. You had him, and you did have him. So I'm down for Cam Davis.
And I think the Rocket comp actually makes sense, because that year that Davis won Rocket, Neiman went bogey free and then made bogey on the first playoff hole and lost. So I think there's crossover there.
Tone too.
Tone, yeah. So Rocket, great comp, very similar scoring style. Like, the way you score there is similar. I love Cam Davis. I hit him at Rocket. Like, we've got those memories together. I don't love the course history here. That'd be my only concern. T43, the best finish. So that'd be my only. But at these prices, people bet Cam Davis at 30 to 1 all the time. So he's 100 to 1. And like I said, I don't think it really matters which fields he's in. I watched him every major boots on the ground that I do preview, like when I'm there in the practice rounds. I watch Cam Davis. It's one of the most beautiful things that you could ever imagine. Yeah. So flusher of all flushers. I like it. Is there anyone in the triple digits who was in your early leans? Were there guys down in this range who you said, this is somebody that I want to keep my eyes on? Or are you largely going to be focused higher on the board?
Mainly Cam. I was literally considering a single B this week, but the only guy down here is Cam that I'm like, because I wrote it up. I was like, Cam could pop here, make sense. So just him.
Grillo, not a play for me this week, but he continues when he decides that he's gonna like step it up. He led the field in the final round and he shot 8 under in the final round at Waste Management to shoot up into a tee. Nice. He was -1 going into the final round, shot 8 under to finish in a tie for 22nd, gaining 5 shots tee to green. So that's like 4 straight really solid starts for Grillo. So I don't think it's this week, but we need to keep our eyes on Grillo.
Mexico. Brian says he's a lock in Mexico. He's probably going to be like 16-1 in Mexico.
That's the problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you're going to go down here, because it was 2 years ago that we saw CY at like 200-1, almost win from this range. I think it's got to be a big hitter for me to get excited about somebody this far down the board this week, or maybe somebody who like spikes on POA. But again, there's no real track record here of people winning in the last decade that didn't come in with plus distance. And just scanning through these names, I don't see a lot of guys who fit that criteria for me. We've got a Luke List. Yeah, I was about to say Luke List 150-1. Gained 12 shots on approach last year. Got absolutely murdered around the greens and on the greens,
which makes sense.
I'd be out from an outright perspective, but maybe a sneaky DFS play if nobody else is on in low ownership.
Yeah.
And then give me the exact finishing position for the tournament host, a multiple time major champion, Mr. Tiger Woods. He's back this week. He gained a ton off the tee at Hero. Driving actually looked good. I thought he looked good at Hero. I've said this. I'm bullish on Tiger this year. I think like this year there's gonna be a mixing event from Tiger. I don't know which one it's gonna be.
I agree.
I don't think it's Riv because he couldn't even play good at Riv when he was peak Tiger, so that's a red flag for me. But give me his exact finishing position.
Yeah, he finishes T37 this week, which is fine. That's cut made. That's playing weekend golf, which is interesting. I think he's a guy who might be like 4 under through 10. 3 under through 10, like playing good golf out the gate.
And people are like losing their minds on social media.
But I agree with you that like it could be a mix at some point in the season, and like there will be no 500-1s on Book of Jurors if you were wondering, because there has been in the past on Tigers, and I am not offering those anymore. So Tiger, I think he's gonna finish T37 this week, which is it probably won't make you any money, sadly, but yeah, no one really else here in these long shot rings.
What did Taylor Moore do last week? Keep your eyes on. I'm marking this down. I don't think he's going to contend this week, but I need people to start keeping their eyes on Taylor Moore. I think he's got something. He's made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 straight cuts. He's added a lot of distance to his game. Like he's always been a long hitter, but he's really hitting it long lately. Once he gets back down onto the Bermuda in Florida, let's pencil him in to keep our eyes on. But an interest, he was T21 here 2 years ago.
He had the best around the green performance of his career last week, if that means anything to you, of his career.
I like that. I think around the green's one of those where like guys can just get hot for a little bit. They just get a good feel around the greens and they kind of ride it. So, but that covers the field. That covers our allotted normally about hour that we talk about this event. So give me the summary. Give me the 3 leans right now, guys, that you're most excited about off the top of your head now that we've kind of talked about a good chunk of them.
Yeah, I think we are going to go. I think if we can't not mention a long shot based off what we said this year. So I'm still down with Cam Davis thing. I think it's live. Justin Thomas, I'm super high on. So those two, and then someone probably from the middle. I'll say Nicolai. He can get into the top 10, get into the mix. So those 3, that's definitely nothing compared to a card, but I could bet none of those guys. But early Monday thoughts. That's what I'll go with.
Yep, that's fair. A guy, I just clicked on him. He's been playing horrible golf. but he did flash here last year. Lee Hodges, keep your eyes out for a potential bounce back from.
Devo had him.
Yeah, Hodges is 400 to 1. Maybe you could get on board with some Hodges.
I think it was like 1,001 last year.
Proj is 125 to 1. Proj has never really played well here. If I'm gonna sling some long shots, I need a top 10 at Riv before. I need distance and a top 10 at Riv, and I'm not seeing a lot of those guys there. But yeah, I think JT right now. I'm gonna, after this, actually spend some time digging in, and I might pull the trigger on that 20 to 1 because I think that's a pretty fair number. I would, if he had course history, I'd bet Ludwig, but I'm gonna just wait and see on him. But I think he does play really well. And then Nicolai, that's my like 66 to 1. He's on the card this week. I'm not gonna overthink things. It is a first time start for him, so he probably can't win, but I really think he can mix, and I think he's got the dog in him. So if he is up there going into the final round, he might be able to do it. So that's our current thinking on Riv. Get in the Discord, get in Vincerix to get our final thoughts as the week continues, and then be on the lookout on Twitter tomorrow for an exciting announcement. Thanks for tuning in. Good luck to everybody, and we'll talk to you later.
Peace out.